Good morning and welcome again to Travels with Monkey Boy. Today we are again back in 1994, day 6 of our safari in Tanzania. The safari ended at noon. It was about a 2-hour drive back to Arusha from Tarangire, and we insisted to Paul that we stop in this Tanzanian cultural center, which was really a huge shopping center for African art. It was a cool place, but expensive. Anyway, we worked the math and figured that if we left at 8, we would have time for about an hour-long safari. Frankly, I think we'd had enough at this point, but geez, we came to this stupid park, so we were determined to see something of it. But the park was a mess. The damn El Nino had turned this whole country into a big swamp, and this park had 80% of its area and probably 90% of its cool things on the other side of the river. The rain had washed out the bridge across the river, so we spent a little more than an hour driving in a circle, praying we would see something, anything. For me, we did see something. Those baobab trees, as you can see behind me, are really cool. They're the kind of tree that's really fat in the middle with almost no greenery on the top. I know you'd recognize them if you took the effort to walk over to the damn encyclopedia, but trust me in describing them as interesting. Note, I mentioned encyclopedia in 1994 and not just Google it. It was a different world back then. What was really cool about them, though, was how they reacted with elephants. The elephants eat the bark, but as the tree is almost indestructible, you'd see this massive tree trunk with a hole in the middle, easily large enough for a man to walk through. There were some that were eaten away like the leftover core of an apple, yet it was still green and growing in the top. Then driving along, we saw the German sausage tree. This is one of the true freaks of nature. It looks exactly like some crazy deli owner had gone and strung 50 of those bologna logs you see in Italian delis and such places from the branches of the trees. Some sort of tree pot, but truly an impressive tree. It didn't take us long to be bored, though. There was no place to drive and nothing much else to see here. We saw a family of mongoose running around, and we saw many football birds. Actually, we only called them football birds. They were some sort of quail or grouse, but they were shaped like a football, and they were fairly common everywhere we went on the trip. And in honor of the Super Bowl, they were thusly named. So began the second arduous journey home. 2 hours to Arusha, 4 hours to Nairobi, and then about an hour from the outskirts of Nairobi to our resort hotel, the Safari Park. We stopped in Arusha as above stated to look through the gift shop. It was really quite glorious with a lot of craft work that I quite admired, but we were pressed for time and we had spent a lot of money on the trip. And frankly, there was too much to choose from, so I ended up getting confused and decided not to buy anything. They had some beautiful stones there called tanzanite. No, 1994. No one had heard about tanzanite. Now it's quite popular. Anyway, it's a precious stone, kind of purplish sapphire, only found in Tanzania and only discovered in the late 1960s. I considered it too. I think it was a pretty stone, and I kept promising Jillian that I will get her some jewelry. But the problem with tanzanite is no one's ever heard of it. I mean, you're going to spend $2,000 for a 1 carat ring, then someone admires it and asks what it is, and you say, tanzanite. Well, I know what I would think. Pretty. It's amazing what they're doing with synthetics today. I'll bet tanzanite is like those fake diamond things, diamels. Seems to me that the only reason you pay huge money for a colored glass stone is to impress people with your ability to afford huge money for something so useless. Now with cultured pearls, factory-grown emeralds, factory-grown rubies, everyone is a little more dubious about complimenting someone with a fancy ring or bracelet because they may be complimenting a fake. And if no one compliments you on the real thing, what's the point in having the real thing? We bought a couple of t-shirts and left. Lunch was at Arusha, and by the time we were done with lunch and packed the bus, it was past 2. The trip to Nairobi was uneventful, and we were in our rooms at 8. By 9, everyone was asleep except Joe, Rolf, and I. The hotel we were staying at was more like a resort than a hotel. 7 restaurants, 3 bars, a nightly African dance show, we decided to explore. We went to the piano bar for some beers and listened to a quite passable jazz quartet. After a few drinks, we walked over to the disco. There were a lot of young people dancing, almost exclusively African. The music was loud, so we ordered a beer and slunk into a corner. A couple of local girls came and asked us to dance. We declined partly because we were fine, moral men, partly because we were enjoying our beers, and partly because we'd heard that 60% of the prostitutes in Kenya have HIV. Whether or not you could get HIV from dancing was something we didn't know, but we could hardly see the point of finding out. By midnight, we were back in our rooms asleep. And that's it for today, guys. No pictures, no videos. Back again tomorrow. Thanks.